I see live.
I'm
think we're good.
live. Hit a lick, Jonathan. That was
Action.
loud.
Oh, is it loud?
It was so loud, bro.
Well, people said that they couldn't hear me last time, so
That's right. Yeah.
maybe they can hear me.
Welcome back
Oh.
to OnlyFrets, episode 2, everybody. And by everybody, I of course mean Jonathan.
Yeah. We're sure to play a G string here at some point.
Yeah.
Play with
What are we talking about today, sir?
So, we're going to talk about a controversial topic, rather
Yes.
controversial, I guess, some tariffs and how that's going to affect the guitar industry, because it will undoubtedly do that. And then I think we're going to do a little would you rather kind of thing, or maybe just talk about a subject that is in the ballpark of would you rather, like what's your preference kind of thing, just because I don't know what else to talk about right now. I got a list of stuff maybe, but we'll be here all day if we do that. So, but if you got any ideas, leave them down there in the chat section, and I'm sure it'll come up and we'll try to get to it. Or
That's
Sean,
right.
speak up if you got any.
Um,
Sponsored, not really, by Dr. Pepper Blackberry.
Sponsored by LMNT, which is the most famous podcast sponsor on YouTube right now.
Do you like Dr. Pepper, Sean?
I do like Dr. Pepper, but your boy had to lay off soda. Last year, about a year ago, we went on a carnivore diet.
Oh.
And I was, let's see, the wife had just had our daughter, and she was like, "Do you want to go on a carnivore diet?" And I was like, "Do you mean you want me to eat steak for dinner and bacon and eggs for breakfast?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, that's the easiest thing. Of course." Like, I've never said yes to her faster in my entire life. And I was just like, "Yeah, let's do that." And I was drinking like, do you ever drink Snapple? You remember Snapple?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love
Those
Snapple
peach iced
Apple.
teas.
Like, oh.
Snapple Apple is a good peach iced tea was my go-to, but Snapple Apple is a fine substitute when they were out of my favorite. And I was drinking like
Right.
2 of those 32-ounce bottles like a day.
Ooh.
Yeah, shaky hands, like my hands were not steady at all.
Right.
So lots of like little internal things, plus packing on dad weight and all that stuff. So I haven't been on soda, but Dr. Pepper is a great soda.
Yeah. My vice is not really, so I'll have like 1 or 2 a day, maybe one with dinner, whatever. But
Like a
like
can
coffee
though,
is,
not like
yeah, like a can, not like
yeah.
a 2 liter. But we all have our days. But yeah, coffee is like my thing, man. I'll have like 3 and 4 cups of coffee sometimes a day if I just need it. But anyway, see, we don't just talk about guitars here.
No,
What are you playing there, Sean?
this is
About it.
Shiny, my Harley Benton JA kit guitar with Planet Tone P90s and a uh, what is it called? The X Trem from GFS. So this is a cool contraption. You can literally put it on any stop bar tailpiece style guitar without like mounting holes or anything, and does the trick. This came without one of these, so I really wanted to get a trem on the Jazzmaster style guitar, But yeah, what do you got today?
So I got my Donner DST 550. This was my first inclination into Donner as a brand. Well, with their guitars anyway. I have 2 Donner pedals that I bought way back because I needed a reverb and a delay. But this was the first guitar that I ever tried from Donner.
Nice.
And it's one of my favorites. It really legitimately is something special about it. A lot of people seem to agree The one thing that a lot of people will say about Donner is their customer service is not great. That's a comment that I see a lot. But,
Hmm.
roasted maple, neck and fingerboard, and HSS with a split switch there and a really stable trim. It's really cool. Really like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I love the color. I have that made in Mexico Telecaster that's the exact same color scheme.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. It's
That
almost like a silver in some light, but I mean, I didn't think I would like it when they said which one they were sending me, but I was like, man, you take it out of the box and it's just like, wow, it's crazy. But I talk about the guitars to kind of segue into the first topic that we decided to talk about, and that's tariffs, because this guitar right here is manufactured in China. And no doubt your kit was probably made in China as well,
I'm sure
right?
that it was
So
shipped from Germany.
shipped from Germany,
Yeah.
manufactured in China, as a lot of stuff is nowadays or has been for a while. And the impact on the guitar market with the tariffs is it's going to be a thing because guitars are expensive as is, and adding whatever percentage the number is right now, because it seems to be changing all the time, it's going to increase the price.
True.
And with things like Epiphone being already well over $1,000 for some of their high end models, you're going to be paying what Gibsons were just a couple years ago. As standard being $2,000, whatever, because they're well over 2 grand now.
Yeah.
I mean, even those studios, what are they? The Studio Plus or
Yeah,
whatever it
the
is,
new ones with the
1999,
quilted. Yeah, yeah.
and it's like that for a studio is insane.
Pretty crazy. Um
So,
I
so what are your takes on that?
well, you're not wrong about any of that. And so I work in my profession is in the lumber industry, as a matter of fact, and
Mm,
so I always have uh, sort of my finger on the pulse of importing lumber because we get our cedar from Canada, we get
mhm.
our OSB from Canada, and the product that I sell uses a lot of OSB in its construction and makeup. It's an engineered wood product. So, like, I guess we probably don't need to sidestep anything, but like during Trump's first term, there was tariffs imposed, and
Mhm.
we already had like a price hike on all of that stuff. And
Right.
then when he left office and Biden took over, the tariffs actually remained uh, for a couple of years through like all the COVID lockdown and stuff like that. So we
Right.
have never sold more lumber than we did during COVID. Um, I mean, we could not keep product in our lumber yard, and so as that pertains to guitars, sort of this is a awkward segue, but guitar prices and lumber prices went through the roof during COVID. I mean,
Oh yeah.
like, well, I think actually the guitar prices were a little bit delayed. We had some pretty good pricing on stuff, but the used market got hit really bad during COVID.
Yeah.
Like all the prices went way up on the used market. Just like those
Hmm.
are trees that are already cut down, so and then we started seeing Epiphone climbing in price, and we start
Yeah.
seeing certain builders climbing, the Gibsons climbing in price, but they're also offering a higher quality product, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
you're not getting nothing for your extra money, but I would say that the return on investment has gone down while the prices have gone up. But
Right. And
all that
and
to say, we're always going to have to deal with this. Like this,
yeah.
it doesn't necessarily, to me, it doesn't necessarily matter where it comes from. Like nothing has ever gotten cheaper in the course of my life. It's only ever gotten more expensive.
Right.
So
And that was what I was going to say was like once the prices go up, I don't think people understand that they don't come back down.
yeah,
So, especially on like new stuff, and that's regardless of where it's made, where it's coming from who manufactured it, it does not matter. Those prices will stay the same because these companies look at it as like, well, I'm not going to lose money, especially if people are still buying it. Why would I do that? That's a,
Yeah.
bad, because it's like the people at the top just don't, they got their money. They don't care.
Right.
But,
It's
that's kind of just the way that I look at it. And I think that's the way most people look at it. But I think a lot of people don't understand how it works, really, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
I think that's true to a degree. I mean, not that it's like anybody's fault. Like we that you don't understand. Like who has room in their brain for all of this? Like, the
Right.
I think you and I were talking a little bit, and like politics has like infiltrated everything. It was actually funny. So I was watching Joey Landreth and Rev Amps. I can't remember the owner of Rev Amps. I can't remember his name, but I was watching a live stream on their channel. And they do those every week. And somebody's like, what do you guys think about the tariff? And I I made a joke, and I was like, tariffs, a way to weasel politics into every guitar conversation on YouTube right now.
Yep.
And it just feels
Yes.
like I don't want to talk about that. They're going to charge what they have to charge. Pedal makers don't make
Yeah.
very much money. Amp builders don't make very much money. The big guys do make a ton of money. It seems like they could take it easy on us a little bit. But if you're a boutique guy, if you're, whatever the case may be, I the prices have never gone down. I've never paid less for a guitar 5 years later than I did 5 years earlier, no matter
Right.
the situation. It never happens. So to me, I just like, I get I get exhaustion from it. But I can understand, like you're like, yeah, well, I mean, it does affect the industry. And you're right, 100%. So it's
Yeah.
probably something worth discussing, I suppose.
Well, and so I mean, you even look at it this way too. I mean, it's the tariffs are there on everybody that they're getting put on to try to tell everybody, well, buy American,
Right.
right?
That's the idea. I
That's the
think.
idea.
I think.
But then you look at like the guitar industry. Where do we get a lot of our wood from? A lot of lumber comes from
Canada.
Canada. Now, whether they're actually using that wood to make guitars is a whole other, because I don't know. I'm not going to sit and say they are or they aren't. But if they are, then the price of those American made guitars are going to go up even higher. And we all know that American made stuff is expensive because the people that work in America don't want, to make the wages that some other places will work for. And that's the whole point of making things in other places, is to help keep the cost down, because labor is a big part of it.
Right.
So to me, it's like you're not helping the issue by imposing a bunch of tariffs and trying to like essentially ruin business relationships with other countries. Is
That
my thing.
that part is a bad part. That last thing you just said, like ruin. You don't want to. We don't need to ruin business relationships over it. Uh, I kind of don't like. How would I put this? I would rather. I think a lot of people feel, not most people, because we're like totally divided or whatever. But I think a lot of people would not mind, or actually happily pay uh, American loggers and American builders, guitar builders, and American factory mills. Bring back the mills, bring back, like, and none of this can happen overnight. So like, it's
Oh
not
yeah.
like you just flip a switch. You can flip a switch on the tariff, but you can't flip a
Right.
switch on people operating and owning these businesses that we need to produce the lumber to make a pine body Telecaster. So like, I
Right.
get that part, like that totally tracks and it makes sense to me. But the idea that I would uh that I would fund uh 3 stages of 3 to 5 stages of manufacturing all here in America by paying more, and that money then gets turned around, and when the guy has to remodel his house, he calls me and buys a glue lamb beam for his window header, and has money to do that, and I can charge a little bit more for the glue lamb, and the glue lamb's made in America, so that it it has a good I think it has a good nature to it. I think implementation can never be smooth on something like that.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, like I can get behind the idea of like support your country, do all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Give the people here the jobs. My thing is for years and years and years and years and years, all of the foreign manufacturing has coexisted pretty comfortably, I think, with American manufacturing. We've all kind of
Yes.
coexisted. It's all been fair trade back and forth for the most part, I guess. Pretty open trade, I guess.
Hmm.
So it's just like, you know, I really don't maybe see the point behind it other than just to say, take that, insert country here. We're America, kind of F you.
Yeah.
Like, really, that's kind of how I see it because I just don't, the whole thing with the tariffs in the first place was like, it was run on like, yeah, we're gonna show those countries they're gonna pay and it's like, but you understand that the consumer pays the tariff at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? So it's like you think that you're gonna stick it to them, but it's like it's coming out of your pocket.
Technically, I think there is one factor that gets maybe under doesn't quite get as much run as it should, and that is that the American market is in fact the highest consumer market in the world, meaning
Right.
we buy more crap that we don't need than anybody else.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
because if you price Americans out of whatever you're selling, pedals, guitars, amps, whatever, if you price them out of it, you're going to you're going to lose 50 to 60% of your business.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 100% of your business or closer to it. So, companies like, let's say like Lakato,
Mhm.
or
It's a
Donner,
perfect example. Mhm.
I don't think either of those companies are you're going to see any type of significant increase. It might be a dollar or two, but
Right.
on on companies like that where, let's say, yeah, like probably 90% of their profit comes from America, like I would say that there are more companies out there willing to eat 50 to 60% of that tariff margin in order to maintain selling, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
quantity over like complete, like what? Like you're gonna jack up say the tariff's 200% or on lumber, you're gonna jack your guitars up 200%. You will not sell a single one. We're broke right now. So,
Exactly. So
some of the
to me,
companies are gonna have to eat some of that as well. I would think
right.
just to maintain their product hold in the country.
Right. Because to me, I'm just like, it's like you said, we're one of the, if not the world's largest consumer market.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what you said. Like there are a lot of people with no money. People can't
True.
buy a house. People can't buy a car. I mean, like those are like essentials, right?
The
What
essentials
makes
are
you
more
think they're going to
expensive than
say
they've ever been.
exactly? And then you got, on top of all of this stuff for just stuff, again, your essentials, groceries, all that kind of stuff. They're just all going up, 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 and it's like to me, we're just heading for another 2008, and it's like it's almost like it's necessary for that to happen because then once it all tanks, then maybe we can come back to a point where it's like, okay, let's pull it back, recoup, and see what we did wrong that got us to this point. But I mean, it's
Right.
always at the end of the day just greed is what it is. So, it- you know, and I hate it because it's like you got the people that could maybe afford all of the expenses with them being higher, regardless of what happens. But it's like, well, what about, they're weeding out the working class. It's like, well, who do you think makes your money for you? Because it's
Yeah.
not you, it's
Yeah.
us. So you're nothing without us. But they don't think about that because they're like, well, I've already got the money in my pocket. That's just kind of my take on it.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's I don't know, man. It's really complex now. It's become like 2008 was very understandable. Like that that made a lot of sense,
Yeah.
why that happened. You know, it was a very clear and obvious bubble to a lot of people.
Mhm.
Um, and why the bubble existed. It was artificially, inflated stuff. This time around, it's much different. Like the inflation is almost entirely from government overspending.
Yeah.
Like that's why it exists. Like we literally printed money to oblivion, and so now
Mhm.
everything's just tough. But I would say, I mean, I don't think the guitar market sees the worst of what these can do, but also
Right.
they, they they tariff the crap out of almost every country that we do business with. Tariffs the crap out of anything that we do happen to export. So I think
Right.
if we can supply and demand, if we can create more stuff to export, exportable goods,
Mhm.
um, and then people, all right, let's rework that, and it is sort of our current president's mo, the bravado and the wild swing. That's in his book, apparently. I've heard that before, like this exact strategy. It's news to no one,
Yeah.
that he would do stuff like this to get a reaction, get somebody to sit at the table, and then maybe something better gets worked out. And I really hope, especially in the case of like Canada, because I
Yeah.
love my Canadian brothers and sisters. I wouldn't want any, like, I don't know. We just need a better to continue a good relationship with them. So
Yeah.
hopefully that all gets sorted out. But I'm no politician, man. I just like playing guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. I just figured touching on it and saying like, hey, you think the guitars are kind of whatever now? It's like, but then this is a nice segue into why I kind of stick to used because we're in a market now where, and look at this, we found another subject here, the used market, the guitar used market. It's kind of crazy. It is, it is beyond oversaturated, which is good if you're buying, you're looking to buy things, but then the
Yeah,
second you go to sell it, it's you know,
you're gonna
because people
take
are
a
trying
bath
to,
on that.
you're gonna take a bath on it every single time. So what I've actually done, it I guess as contradictory as it sounds with me, I'm not buying stuff unless it's something I plan on keeping for a while.
Goes back
Because what
to our
I've
gas
done,
conversation.
exactly, goes back to that. Now, I was telling you beforehand, I had just gotten something new and then I've already bought something else. Continuing on with why I said before in the last episode is because it's, business decisions, all that kind of stuff. But again, it's things that I know that maybe in the future, if things kind of flip reverse and go back to the used market being what people want to look at, or that can afford to buy from and sell to, that I know I can make maybe a profit on it at that time because I'm getting it for such a good price now. It's not something where
Right.
this is my job as a flipper to do that, and that's not really the main thing that I go into. I just like cool looking things or like weird, quirky looking things, like I said. So if I see it, it's a good price and I can get it, I'm probably going to snatch it up whether I've got too many on my rack or not.
Yeah.
This is my thing, amps, and that goes for amps, not really pedals as much, but mainly guitars. It just is what it is. So,
Well, part of why I chose this one today is because this was this is I think about $100 for this kit.
yep.
Um, you know, elbow grease aside, the pickups that came with this were fine. I'm just a tinkerer. The stop bar tailpiece that came with this was fine. I just,
Mm,
but the the kit guitar situation, it really appeals to me because I can get something that might cost on the low end, say, oh, $500-600 for,
mm,
good pickups, quality tuners, a tremolo, CTS pots, and I can do all that for
right.
under 400 typically. And like doing a paint finish, that can be as cheap or as expensive as you want. So the
Yeah.
whole thing is just like totally up to you. You can also sort of buy the guitar over time by um, by using the regular pickups that come with it for a little bit, and then adding nicer ones later when you get a bonus check or a gift card from
Right.
somebody for your birthday or whatever. So they're the nice part about these is when you do a kit guitar, you don't feel bad about modding it because it's not some precious, thing from, like my Les Paul back there from the 70s or like whatever.
Right.
And it's a way to sort of sidestep paying, full retail price for something that's really nice. So I also,
Mhm.
rather than just buying a budget brand like like a Donner or a Harley Benton or something like that, you can also find these kits um, for very inexpensive, and they can go all the way up. If you want like a burled top Les Paul, you could pay $400 for that. But even
Yep.
then, it's still half the price of a discounted, you know, uh, Epiphone Greenie or something like that, or
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
So I think there's a lot of ways. Guitar players are creative by nature. We always find a way to buy more guitars, one way or the other. So it's kind of like we find a way, and I
Yeah.
think we'll find a way through all this mess as well.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, it's worse before it's better
Used
kind of
market
thing.
is good though. I wanted to
But the used
to
market is
touch
good.
on that.
Yeah.
The used market's really good right now for buying.
Yeah.
I've been on Reverb, and I mean, shoot, even the Gibson demo shop on
Yeah.
Reverb, they had a huge sale recently.
Hmm.
Um, and and then like every guitar that I like and send to my favorites list or whatever gets discounted at some point. Stuff is
Right.
just sitting. So,
Yeah, and like I said, if you're a buyer, it's good. I mean, it's
mhm.
all gold right now. It's all gravy. So for me, like I said, I'm a buyer. I'll sell stuff every so often, but literally, I'm one of them people that I'll just take it back to Guitar Center and just sell it there. Because
Yeah,
they'll. I mean, I hate to say it, but they'll take pretty much anything. As a religious Guitar Center musician friends browser, I'm browsing it every day. Like I know the time that they refresh it and everything when to find the
right.
best deals and stuff. So, and I've just figured that out from over time, but they take in some crap. But the thing is, I mean, they'll take in stuff that maybe they don't know what it is. I've seen there's something on there right now that I'm not going to say because maybe
You
soon, who
might.
knows? I might.
You
It's in my
might.
favorites. I've got a saved list of like, I think there's like no less than 30 in there at a time that I look at and I sit on.
Yeah.
But, but yeah, I mean, they don't know what they got sometimes, which is
Right?
it just goes to people that just need a job. They're not a musician. They just need a job, which is not bad. I mean, honest
No.
work. But that plays into your hand every single time. You know,
I've
good deals
seen
are to
some
be had.
gems for very little money at Guitar Center sometimes. And you know what's interesting? The employees, like if you go in there and say they have let's say they have a Squire Classic Vibes Telecaster,
Yeah.
the the butterscotch one. Let's say they have
Mhm.
it up there for like $189. And then you are like, what's wrong with this thing? And you go play
Yeah.
it. Turns out it has like a set of Lawler pickups in there. And then
Yeah.
and then you're like, man, you go up and you ask the one guy in the store who actually does know, his knees from his elbows, and you're like, why is that so cheap? And he's like, who cares? You should buy it. Like,
But
that's a
then he's the
really
one
good
that's also
deal,
like,
you
that's the one.
know?
He's also the one that's like, he doesn't want to tell you to buy it because he's sitting on it waiting for his
Right.
turn to get it. Like, I hope nobody does this.
Yeah.
You know,
He's
that's
like,
that would
yeah.
be me. I would be sitting there staring at it like, don't go look at it.
Yeah.
That's kind of me.
Yeah.
But
You and
yeah.
I could never work at a guitar shop
Oh
because
no,
we would
because the
never
second I
get,
see something come in, I'd be like, okay, yeah, we'll buy that. But then, hey, I got an employee discount, right? Let me,
I would
you know,
never get paid.
yeah.
Mm.
Then what was that? That was gonna be. Oh, I did have another topic after we get done with this, but yeah, the other end of it that I see is people asking way too much for the lower end stuff. So I see all the time, speaking just in Squire and Epiphone, um, the little like Les Paul specials, for example, the bolt-on ones with like the P90s in it.
Yeah,
You know, they'll be up there for like $600, and I'm like, you're insane.
they're
Like, why do you
firewood.
have this? Right. I'm
I
like, it's
don't
not that
even
they're
know why they
terrible.
make
It's
those,
just
bro.
right. Yeah. The now I did have one because I'm a traditionalist when it comes to Epiphone Gibson. I want
Hmm.
set neck
Yes.
stuff like that. I want the bolt on whatever. I did have a bolt on junior once. It was I bought it because it looked cool. Someone had like sanded it down and repainted it yellow and had one P90 in it. And I'm like, that's a vibe. And
Did you do a
it
video on
wasn't
that?
bad. I did.
I
I
remember
did.
that. I remember
Yeah,
that
and,
one.
and it was cool. But I was
Yeah.
like, at the end of the day, it's that mental thing of like,
This
it's not a
isn't
real Les
real.
Paul junior. But and I know some people say, well, yeah, of course it's an Epiphone, and I'm like, no, it says Les Paul on the headstock. It's a real
Yeah.
Les Paul. But yeah, I was just like, it's not real, and I
Right.
just couldn't get past it. But
Well, I think that I think I just bought a Gibson style uh, guitar with a bolt on,
mm,
but I th- I'm gonna let I'm gonna let that one slide. I've noticed that um, there are other builders out there making this style of guitar with a bolt-on neck that are very high quality. So I think I can do it right and it'll be
yeah,
okay. But I mostly agree with you on that. Like if it's a Gibson style guitar, it basically needs to have a set neck
yeah,
for
and
whatever
I mean,
reason,
yeah,
right
and
or
it's
wrong.
not to
You know,
say bolt-ons are bad, like I said, because like I love a Strat. Like this thing's a bolt-on. You know, Ibanez's are bolt-on. Jacksons are. Well, I have a Jackson over there. It's a set neck, so I don't know if I can go back to bolt-on Jacksons, but I digress.
right?
You know, it just is what it is. You know, to me, I am a strong proponent of if it plays well, who cares?
True.
But you know, it is what it is. Um, so what was the other topic I was gonna have? Man, I need to write this stuff down. We're still new, if y'all hadn't noticed.
Well, you had told me earlier that you had a little game of Would You Rather kind of tuned up.
Kind of thing, yeah. So like maybe just to let some people know about us a little bit. So
Sure.
so just like, would you rather like Strat or Les Paul? Like just stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah,
So
we can do that.
what's your preference?
Um Les Paul.
Les
Uh
Paul, I agree.
yeah, I just feel like it's funny. I actually just watched a Sweetwater video with Gibson. And it's all
Mhm.
marketing, but cool
Yeah.
video nonetheless. And like Jared James Nichols was on there and he was just like, I knew the Les Paul body shape before I could talk or walk. Like
Yeah.
that's what a guitar looks like. And I know that the Strat is the most used like in emojis and things like that.
Right.
But a Les Paul is like when I see a Les Paul, like that's what comes to my mind when if my kid was like, draw me a guitar, I
Yeah.
draw a Les Paul every time.
Exactly. So
What
then in your
about you?
case, well, it's Les Paul all day
Yeah.
long. I mean, that's, you know, I've kind of delved into other body styles and stuff like that. But I find myself coming back to the Les Paul 99% of the time. I like the weight. I like the single cut aspect of it. This sits comfortably, but there's just something that's different about a Les Paul, how it sits, how it resonates against your body. I know stuff people say all that kind of stuff is
Hmm.
whatever, but and they're just girthy, like a big neck on them. I mean, they're just to me they're the perfect guitars. Aside from especially on Gibson's the neck break angle and then where it goes in the nut, the G and B string just you
Right.
know, other than that, I think they're the perfect Les Pauls.
Yeah, I agree. So humbucker single coil.
I want to throw a caveat in there and say P90, but between the two, I would have to probably go with humbucker. Just because I play heavier stuff, and humbuckers are obviously more well equipped for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Back when I started getting heavy into guitar, I always, again, I go back to I'm a traditionalist. So when it comes to like a Strat, I like a 3 single coil Strat. I never really considered an HSS just because I was like, there's, that's not traditional or whatever.
Yeah,
whatever I was.
I agree.
But
yeah,
but I love the versatility of the humbucker and the bridge because I mean we all play just full volume, full tone, bridge pickup,
yes,
yada yada yada, kind of thing. Which is where, to me, single humbucker guitars or single pickup guitars really are like, I don't want to say my bread and butter just because they're not, but I mean I find myself gravitating towards those a lot when I'm looking for things. I'm like, what's something that's just simple? Like I don't like T types really, but like an Esquire would be just, I would love an Esquire. They're so cool.
My old man had bought a Squire Classic Vibes that had been converted to an Esquire, and they put one of those what's it called, the Seymour Duncan quarter pounder in it. Holy crap, dude, that thing roars like it. And there is something to like all the electricity going directly to one pickup. Like there's no extra wiring for it to go through. Like it's all getting like funneled to one spot, and it's pretty sweet. I agree. I don't have a one pickup guitar, but I would love one for sure.
Right. Now you know that they do make a classic vibe, or they did a classic vibe Esquire, like it's an actual Esquire.
I saw that. I've seen that one, and then they also did that paranormal or the Bullet series. Remember they did like a maybe it's paranormal, but they did a telly with a humbucker in the bridge.
Yeah, no, I believe it's the paranormal, and it's just the one humbucker with a big headstock on it. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So are you single coil or humbucker?
So I would have to like caveat that as well, but I'll go with single coil. Telly specifically. Strat single coils are cool. The ones I have in that Strat back there behind me are like 920D customs, like really nice Texas wound style, and I like those a lot. They do a thing. But the telly bridge Strat neck, those are the two of my favorite single coils. Also, we could say, like you said, P90 is technically a single coil, so I would count that. But I don't love P90. I like P90s, but I don't love them. I would probably,
See, and that's where I say like I like that middle. I mean, I know that people say it's like the middle ground. It is more of a single coil than anything, but I don't know. I dissed on P90s for so long, and I think I was listening with my eyes kind of thing. Like I was like, oh, they just look bad. But man, the first time I ever actually sat and played, I remember it. I remember where I was because it was such an experience for me. I know that sounds crazy and it just sounds stupid, but it just, when you're passionate about something, that's what it is. But anyway, so I was at one of my local chain music stores, which Music and Arts bought out. They were called Ken Stanton Music.
Okay.
I was in like one of their big superstores, and they had on the wall a 1956 Epiphone Les Paul. It was a black one, and I have a video on it. And I picked it up and played it, and it just was like everything that I could. And that's really what awakened the Les Paul thing in me, was that guitar. And I was like,
P90 one.
A P90 one of all things. Yeah, I know. And I was like, this is it. This is like what I want to play. And I had that thing, and I loved it. I sold it stupidly because that's when I went on my kick of getting all the 56s.
Right.
And man, it was like, this is what I want. So now I've got, that opened the door to like SG Junior, which I love the SG Junior. the specials was kind of a thing that I never really liked, but now I've got an SG special and a Les Paul special, which I really, really like. And
Hmm.
it's just, I don't know, P90s, there's just something so good about them, whether there's one or two of them. I had well, I would say a friend. He wasn't really a friend, but a guy that I went to school with, he had a Riviera,
Yeah,
an Epiphone Riviera,
that's right.
something like that, with three P90s. And that thing was cool too. Had a Bigsby on it, and it was cool. And he had one of the Royale series. So it was white with gold like sparkle binding. It was so beautiful.
Kind of looked like a white falcon, like a Gretsch
Kind of,
almost.
yeah,
Yeah,
like a Gretsch White Falcon. Yeah, it looked
nice.
just like that.
I've never been much of a, I don't know about you, maybe would you rather hollow body, solid body?
Ooh, I mean, solid body would be kind of my go to. Now, if you were semi hollow or solid,
Sure.
that's a harder one
Yeah.
because that Sheraton that I got is beautiful. Again, it's another like religious experience that I had with that. When I got it, I was like, this is the semi hollow that I pictured in my mind that I wanted. It was just like perfect.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I mean, again, solid body, humbucker equipped for what I play generally or where I live musically.
Mm,
That it suits me to a T.
yeah.
I like to have those options.
Well, variety's the spice of life, my friend.
It is. What about you? So
Um,
what
has to
hollow or
be
semi hollow or solid?
has to be solid, just because I think we had talked about this before, but I've just never found a hollow body that uh fit me like a
Yeah.
glove, if you will. I've just never
Right.
found one yet. I'm sure there's one, and I'll have that same experience that you had with your Sheraton at some point. But there's one hollow body that I ever played in my life that I still think
Mm.
about. It was my surprise, my dad's guitar. So just backstory: my dad always had like 20 guitars, and it was like a
Yeah.
rotating thing. So when I first started playing, like his garage was like freaking Neverland, and so I would just go in there and I could play anything that he had, and it was like being at a tiny little pawn shop with like 20 guitars on the wall. So there was this one cheap hollow body that he had. I think it was, probably plywood construction. But I remember I went and put Weezer uh was green in the
Mm.
CD player, and I was
Yep.
just playing along with it and like playing rhythm, and I plugged that hollow body, and I think it was called like a, I always called it the GTX, but it was like a three-letter name on the headstock. So it's just some random brand.
Yeah.
But that
I'm not
thing
aware.
plugged into a crate, classic 40, like 212.
Yeah.
The gain channel on those crates was just nuts. And I just
Mm.
like jacked that thing up, and it would like literally, like the humbuckers were
Feedback.
so hot in the hollow, semi hollow body. So that's
Yeah.
one that I still think about that guitar sometimes. I'm like, frick, man, I really love playing that thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
mostly solid body for me. I All my guitars besides my acoustics are solid body.
Right. Okay. Here's a good one for you then. Um, and I think I already know the answer to it, but would you rather have the not necessarily kits, but the inexpensive guitar that you then mod to what you want? Like say you have, the bones, they all play well and you put your own stuff in it, or would you rather just go and buy the expensive thing that you're trying to get? So you have $1,000 budget. Would you rather spend $1,000, get a cheap bones and then mod it, or just buy something that's $1,000?
I mean, realistically, you just buy the perfect guitar for $1,000 and do nothing to it. Uh,
Exactly.
that's the honest truth. I mean, we just touched on this. The Harley Benton SG, this
Mhm.
my Strat, which is a like a
Yep.
Squire Bullet that I modded. Um, and like those, oh, and my Flying V, those are attempts to affordably get a style of guitar that I've always wanted.
Right.
And realistically, if I had, a fat stack in my pocket, I would just go buy a Gibson SG 70s SG or something like that, or a vintage one, even like, money not being an object, I would probably never have learned to solder.
Right.
Like that
Yeah.
wouldn't have been a thing for me at all. But I will say that I'm glad it wasn't that way, because I really love the guitars that I've modded and put my burn my fingers on, if you will. Um and even even that telly I had last week, I modded that too, and I did not need to at all. There was nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it. But the Les Paul and the other Nashville telly, the blue one, I haven't done anything to, and I don't plan to. So I would say I would rather spend the money on the
Yeah.
expensive one, but modding is nice too. So $1,000, I'm not modding. I'm just buying the right guitar. You know.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same boat I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm just not a big mod person, I guess. Um, to me, I've never, because I've tried it,
Yeah.
and I've
Yeah.
never
You've
really
done a
found
few videos
much.
here or there of
I've done a
modding.
few, yeah. And to me, I've never really found much to it unless you're doing things like maybe a new nut or maybe like putting the locking tuners on,
Real.
not for tuning stability. I always got to say that. I was going to say that about locking tuners. Not for tuning stability. It's just to look cool and to have the fast string changes. But I don't know. At the end of the day, I would just rather go because there's something out there that is what I want, maybe for the most part. But then again, there might be something out there that I don't know about necessarily. Like I've got a Les Paul over there that's got a brass nut on it.
Yeah.
It came stock with a brass nut, and I'm like, it looks cool. I don't know if it's really doing anything for tone or whatever, but someone also took the pickups out of it and put EMGs in it. So that's something I didn't have to do that I, ended up spending. But would I have done that myself? Probably not.
Right.
If it was just, $1,000, I would have said, oh, maybe I like the look of that or something. So I'll take that and spend the other, 500 or whatever you would have left on maybe a nice amp, or just put it
Sure.
up and buy another guitar or something. Or you can buy two guitars for, you know, there's another would you rather question I got too.
Couple
Unless you want to
good
go ahead and ask one.
couple good comments here real quick. We've got Mark in Mark Spurgeon in my chat, and Steve Cassidy guitar. Steve says Les Pauls are for power lifters and Marvel heroes. So I guess we're big boys now. And then
I guess so.
and then Mark says he only mods his inexpensive guitars, which kind of tracks with,
Yeah, yeah, and that's. I mean, would you really get, and people do it. I don't
Oh
see
yeah.
why, but like, would you buy a custom shop, SG, and then change the pickups or something, or like change the nut or change the tuners? It's like, why? Why?
I
You're
mean,
spending that
Zach
much
at
money, you would
Mythos
expect it to be perfect.
Zach at Mythos and Rhett Scholl just did a video on that, where they took like
Mhm.
a very nice Les Paul, and uh it was Rhett's R9, and
Yeah,
they put new pickups in it. They put what Zach feels like are period correct plastics, and all this stuff. They did all this stuff to it, and it was just for fun. I mean, if it's your guitar, do what you want. But
right.
like
Yeah, and I don't diss anybody doing that.
yeah, totally. But it's like, people do that, but I personally stick to like modding anything that's worth probably less than $250 on the open market.
Right. And I think, and to me too, like going into what the change and stuff, again, like for me, pickups really aren't the biggest deal in the world. The only time that I ever see a benefit because like I don't see any massive tone shifts. I've done a couple of pickup changes on camera and off, like before
Yeah.
I even started YouTube, stuff like that. And me personally, I've never really noticed any huge tonal shifts in anything that I've put in there versus what was already in there. The one exception that I will say was the Explorer video that I did a while back.
Yeah, where the pickup was bad.
Those pickups, and it seems to be across the board in a lot of, well, I'm not gonna say across the board, but a lot of the Korean Epiphones that I've played, they play amazing, but their pickups are, I guess, really underwound or something because the output is terrible. There's like, I
Garbage.
mean, it's raising them up. I mean, I had the pickup almost touching the strings on that Explorer, and it just was
Mm,
like barely there. It's like I had a noise gate on it, and it just was super, high. At that point, obviously, it makes a difference. Tonal shift wise, not really, because to me, it's all about the amp and the speaker, more or
yeah,
less. But that's a separate debate.
sure.
Um, but that's where I notice that's when you need it. Yes, or like if your nut is cut bad, like I said, or your
Hmm.
tuners are junk, or your bridge is, you know, thin trim block and it's not working, it doesn't stay in tune when you use it. I mean, yes, make those upgrades, but if you're spending 5 grand plus, like just let it be. It's
Yeah.
there. I mean, again, it's yours. Do what you want, but I'm like, you're
If
paying
you're
that much money.
spending
You
five
should.
G's on a Les Paul, you can afford to get down to the Nashville Gibson garage and try a bunch or spec your own, or you know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like, I would say if I had that kind of money personally, I mean, everybody don't think the same, but if I had that kind of money, I would just take a trip to the Nashville garage and be like, I want that wood on the top. Like, I would just have it made because they
Yeah.
let you do that there. Or I'd play like 15, 20 of them things laying around and find the one that was the best one. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would definitely, if I was spending that amount of money, I would not be like buying Lindy Fralin pickups and putting them in there. You know, it just
Yeah. Yeah.
wouldn't be a thing. But you could put Lindy Fralin's in your Epiphone, and you could probably get a return on that investment. You know, or
Right.
whatever. So,
Now, that's another thing though, is going back to the used market thing.
mhm.
A lot of time the used market, and I saw a really good video, I forget the name of the channel. He only plays offsets, like
Hmm.
jazz masters and stuff.
Trying to
It's a cool
think.
channel, but he made a video called "Nobody Wants Your Modded Squire,"
Yeah, right.
and I was like, "That's an interesting title." So let me click on that and look at that. And it was basically, yeah, like the used market, specifically things like Reverb, Facebook Marketplace, all that kind of stuff. They're full of these squires that are like specced off the grid, like they've got top end bridge, top end this, and they're asking like $800-900 for them. Right. So it might be something like an Affinity Squire that someone took and dumped a bunch of stuff in, or even like a classic vibe,
Yeah.
you know? And they're asking almost $1,000 for it to get the return on their parts. And it's like, that's not how that works, though.
Take it apart
I
and
get
sell your parts, bro. Nobody wants it.
exactly. Nobody wants it. It's
Yeah.
specifically too, because you got to remember you're modding something how you want it, not
Yeah.
necessarily how somebody else wants it.
Right.
So you're much better off taking all that crap out of there, putting the stock stuff back in, selling it as is, because that's somebody else can look at it and say, "Oh yeah, it's stock. I can if I like it, I like it. If not, I'll put my own pickups in there. I'll put my own tuners or whatever." And it was a really good, interesting point. And he realistically, the video was like 20 minutes long, and it really didn't need to be, but
Yeah.
uh, it was a good point to make. And you
Yeah.
see that a lot back to where I said on the used market. If you look at like Guitar Center, you might see somebody that has the Squire Classic vibe with the Lawler pickups in it or something. And it's like, oh yeah, those sell the classic vibe sells for under $200 on the used market as of right now or whatever.
Hmm.
But no one cares about those pickups, so I'm gonna get
No.
it. And I mean, it's
No, nobody cares what you spent. That's why you also probably ought to be a little careful about what guitars you do decide to mod, or like you said, save the original parts or something. Because
yeah,
uh I'm not going to pay you more because you put locking tuners on your Squire Bullet. I put
right.
locking tuners on my Squire Bullet, but I am never selling mine. So like,
Hmm.
you do need to be also like cognizant of the fact that like Like that made in Japan. Speaking of which, you brought this up with the made in Korea Epiphone. Made in Korea Epiphone and made in Japan Fender have a very similar sort of folklore around their quality. So
Yeah.
like made in Korea Epiphones, great builds, right? They were paying
Mhm.
attention. The the frets are nice and they last a really long time. Like the body shape's always right. Like the fretboard's good. They
Yeah.
used good lumber, probably because they had it available to them at the time. So good
Yeah.
wood, all that stuff. Great paint jobs. Nothing wrong with the work there. You're basically getting a low end Gibson at that point, except the
Yeah.
electronics. Fender
Yeah.
Japan, everything except the electronics. The electronics in my Midge Telly were dime sized pots, random little circular capacitors, so you didn't see no orange drop or paper and oil or nothing. Not cloth wire, so it wasn't vintage wiring. It was our standard shielded wiring that we have now. PCB
Yeah.
switch and ceramic single coils. Um, and that's cool. And there wasn't anything wrong with the sounds I was getting out of it like that. But like, I was like, I'm doing a vintage spec here. So, I got Seymour Duncans and I bought, cloth wire, cloth shielded wire and full size pots and the whole nine because I was just like, A, experimenting, and B, like for such a great playing instrument, I wanted
Mm.
I wanted all of the heart of the electronics to like match that level of craftsmanship because
Right.
and so you could say a similar thing for those made in Korea Epiphones. Those are fantastically manufactured guitars with trash electronics in it, and that's why they're cheap.
Yeah. That's why they're cheap on these, and they're great.
Yep.
Excuse me. Well, I think that's going to be a good point to end everything because my camera's flashing multiple red lights at me. The
Yeah,
battery's
man.
going to die. It's about to overheat. So it knows.
It
And
knows.
we've been on here for an hour. So thank you guys if you joined us through the whole time. I don't think anybody did, but if you watched, thank you very much for joining in at another episode of OnlyFrets. Hope you enjoyed our conversations. We didn't scare you off starting it off somewhat politically, but we
Coming
promise we
in
won't do
hot.
that as much. Coming in hot, exactly. We got to
Yep.
get those clicks initially. Well, thank you, Sean, for your time and your inquisitive and insightful points that you made
Yeah,
during this
thanks, brother.
podcast.
Appreciate you. Look for us next week. We are currently working on a little intro track for you all, so we don't get you get to hear us play a little bit rather than just getting caught holding these things. Oh, is it gonna do it?
Just clean stuff.
Oh, just clean.
Just clean. I played some distorted stuff earlier.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there you go, guys. Yeah, have a good one. Be safe. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch you next Wednesday at what is it, 11 a.m. Central or Central
PST.
or Pacific PST, 2 p.m. EST Eastern Standard Time. Is where I'm at. So coast to coast, only frets.
That's
We'll catch you
right.
guys next time.
Bye.
Bye bye.